Hello everyone. So in today's lecture, we are going to discuss about the chemical composition of cement and the role of these chemical constituents in deciding the behavior of cement, and then we are going to discuss about the Bogues compound. Okay. So the main constituent of cement are lime, silica, alumina, and iron oxide. And in the previous lecture, when we were discussing about the manufacturing of cement, we had discussed that when a calcareous material is mixed with an argillaceous material at a very high temperature, it forms clinker, and this clinker is cooled, grinded to form cement. All right. So the source of lime is the calcareous material, while the source of silica, alumina, and iron oxide is argillaceous material. All right. Apart from this, there are certain impurities, right, in the form of K2O and Na2O, and are referred as alkalis. Okay. So the chemical constituents percentage in cement is shown in the table here, and we can see that the top three constituents of cements are lime, silica, and alumina. Right. The percentage of lime should be in between 60 to 67%. For silica, the percentage is 17 to 25%, and for alumina, it is 3 to 8%. After this, the minor compounds that are present are iron oxide, whose percentage is between 0.5 to 6%, magnesium 0.1 to 4%, alkalis 0.2 to 1.3%, and sulfur trioxide 1 to 3%. All right. So these are the lower limit, these are the upper limit. Okay. Now let us see the role of each constituent in the cement, right? So what is the role of lime in the cement, and what will happen if we have the quantity of each material higher than the permissible limit and the lower than the permissible limit, right? So let us discuss about the function of various chemical ingredients. So the first one is lime, and lime impart strength to this cement, and if the quantity of lime is more than the permissible limit, then it will make the cement unsound. Okay, unsound means uh, change in volume of any material. Okay, so whenever a material undergoes an abrupt change in volume, right, change in volume in a very short period of time, then that behavior is called as unsound, right, or the material is called as unsound material, right? So the change in volume in a very short period of time leads to expanding of the cement, which in turn leads to early disintegration of cement, right? While if the quantity of cement is less than the permissible limit, then we won't get the desired strength of cement. We won't get the desired strength of cement. Okay. So your lime imparts strength. If present in excess, cause unsoundness. If present in less than the permissible limit, will compromise the strength of cement. Then the second element is silica, and silica imparts strength to the cement by the formation of silica dioxide and silica trioxide. All right. So upon the fusion of these calcareous material and argillaceous material, right, they fuse to form certain elements, and among these two elements are C2S, calcium, sorry, dicalcium silicate, and C3S, tricalcium silicate, and these are responsible for the early gain in strength and prolonged gain in strength. All right. But if the silica is present in the excess quantity, the strength of cement will increase, but at the same time, the setting time will get prolonged. Okay. So the hardening of the cement will take a very long period than it would have conventionally taken if the quantity of silica would have been in the permissible limit. Okay. So if the quantity of silica is more than its permissible limit, then it will take more time to get hard. Then we have alumina, and alumina is responsible for quick setting property of cement. Okay, so your alumina is responsible for quick setting property of cement. Another important thing to remember about alumina is that it acts as a flux. All right, and flux basically provides a medium of homogeneous mixing of ingredients. Right, provides the medium medium for homogeneous mixing of ingredients. Okay, so this flux provides a medium for homogeneous mixing of the ingredients by lowering the clinker temperature to a certain extent. All right, so if the quantity of alumina is higher than the desired quantity, so what will happen is we will have a lower temperature in the kiln. And we have discussed before that a certain high temperature is required for the fusion of the calcareous material and argillaceous material to form clinker. Okay, so if we have a higher quantity of alumina, then the temperature in the kiln will get lower, because of which the product that is formed is of inferior quality. Okay, so excess quantity of alumina should not be there in the overall chemical composition of cement. After this we have iron oxide, and your iron oxide is responsible for the color of cement, that is the gray with the greenish tint. So this color is because of the presence of iron oxide in the cement. It is also responsible for providing certain amount of hardness and strength to the cement. After this we have magnesia, and magnesia, if present in the appropriate quantity, imparts hardness and color to the cement, but if present at a higher than the permissible limit, make the cement unsound. All right, it makes the cement unsound. Okay, then we have alkalis, and alkalis, as have been discussed before, as the impurities that are present in the raw materials, right? And since the quantity is fairly less, so most of the alkali are burned or are evaporated through the flue gases during the heating of the cement, right? In the kiln, these alkalis escape out with the flue gases or get burnt out. But if we have excess amount of these alkalis, then it will compromise the overall integrity of the cement. It will lead to formation of alkali aggregate reaction, because of which the bonding between the cement particles and the aggregate will compromise, right? It will also cause efflorescence, and efflorescence is basically formation of white spots, right? Which is again is the result of reaction of alkalis with the moisture during mixing or curing or any other phase of construction, right? And because of the efflorescence, staining is there. Okay, so if your alkalis are present in higher quantity, it will compromise the integrity of the cement, and by forming alkali aggregate reaction, efflorescence and staining. Okay, so after this we have Bogue's compound. All right, so we have discussed about the chemical constituents, and the chemical constituents were lime, silica, alumina and iron oxide, right? So under the extreme temperature conditions in the kiln, they fuse together to form certain compounds. All right, these chemical constituents fuse together to form certain chemical compounds, and these compounds were first discovered by R.H. Bogue, and hence are called as Bogue's compound. So let us see what are those Bogue's compounds. The Bogue's compounds are tricalcium silicate, dicalcium silicate, tricalcium aluminate, and tetracalcium aluminoferrite. These are the Bogue's compound. The formula for each of the compound is given in this column, right? And these are represented through these notations. So your tricalcium silicate is denoted by C3S, dicalcium silicate C2S, tricalcium aluminate C3A, and tetracalcium aluminoferrite by C4AF. The percentage of each compound is shown in the table here. The quantity of C3S varies from 30% to 50%, C2S 20 to 45%, C3A 8 to 12%, while C4AF 6 to 10%. Alright, so these are your Box compound. What are the Box compound? Tricalcium aluminate, tricalcium silicate, tricalcium silicate, dicalcium silicate, tricalcium aluminate, and tetracalcium aluminoferrite. These are the Box compound. Now, the Lee Chartiers and Torbonne, they did their individual investigation and also found the same compounds, but they used different terms for the same compound. They called these compounds as halite, balite, salite, and phthalate. All right. So what they do was they called the tricalcium as halite, balite, salite, and phthalate. All right. So your halite, balite, salite, and phthalate are the name of those compound in this order only. Okay. So your halite is tricalcium silicate, your balite is dicalcium silicate, your salite is C3A, and your phthalate is C4A. Okay. Now let us see the role of each compound in deciding the behavior of cement. So your C3S and C2S together form 70 to 80% of the cement and control most of the strength, as we can see here, right? So most of the cement is made up of C3S and C2S, and thus are responsible for the most of the strength. So your C3S is produced at a faster rate of reaction accompanied by greater heat, right? So your C3S generates lot of heat, so it's a very exothermic process. The formation of your C3S is an exothermic process, and it is responsible for the early strength, right? It is responsible for the early strength in the cement, while your dicalcium silicate is responsible for the prolonged strength or the ultimate strength. All right, so after mixing of cement with water, the early strength that you get is for that the responsible element is C3S, while for the ultimate strength or the strength that your cement gains in the later stage is because of presence of the C2S. So a higher percentage of C3S will result in the rapid hardening, all right, while your C2S result in the slow hardening, less heat of hydrogen, and greater resistance to chemical attack. Okay. Then we have C3A, and C3A is also very fast reacting with water and may lead to immediate stiffening of the paste, and this process is called as flash set. So here it is very important to mention that there is a difference between the flash setting of the cement and the early hardening of cement. Don't get confused with these terms. Your early hardening means that the cement has gained certain amount of strength, while your flash setting means that the cement has stiffened, right? And the reactions that were supposed to happen in the due course of time are now not happening. Okay, so because of the flash setting, the strength of the cement is compromised, and your gypsum is added to prevent this flash setting. Okay, so your C3A is responsible for the flash setting, and to prevent it we add gypsum. Your C3A provides weak reaction against sulfate attack, and it contributes to development of strength of cement, which is less significant than the earlier discussed compound like C2S and C3S, right? So it provides weak, your C3A provides weak resistance against sulfate attack and does not contribute that much towards the strength of the cement. Same is the behavior of C4AF, right? It also hydrates rapidly, but its individual contribution towards the imparting the strength of the cement is fairly less. Okay. So this was all about the chemical constituents of cement and the box compound. So I hope the lecture was up to your expectation, and if you found the lecture useful, make sure to hit the like button and do subscribe to our channel. We have a lot more lectures on this topic and other topics of the civil engineering, right? And to get the regular notification, press the bell icon. Okay, thank you very much.